I am up against a group or groups of people that hide behind every kind of deception that they can create to only do one thing: to make people like me either quit talking or look like fools. Well, my question to that is why? Why isn't information good for everyone? If I am only a fool, if I am only making this up, why has the effort been so constant, so deliberate, so physical, if I'm only some crazy guy? Because what they've done is they've validated that I'm the real deal. And I've had to deal with some of this stuff in a way that I never thought that I would have to deal with any kind of human existence. I've had to become what I hate about this. I've had to literally say, I don't care to survive about these people. So when people say, this is an exciting thing for you to be dealing with, this is a opportunity for new information, those things are correct. But there's also a dark side to this. A very, very dark side. And most people don't want to hear that. Most people don't want to know that human beings can be this cruel and this terrible in this day and age. And I know there'll be people that are hearing this, they'll say, well, Jonathan, why didn't you just go to the police? Because a lot of the police are also part of this. Because a lot of the elected officials are behind some of these organizations in every country of the world. This is a war between good and evil, between someone who truly has only a message to deliver. I'm not asking anyone to support me. I'm not asking anyone to give me any money. In fact, I've denied all those things. Sure, we've sold books. Sure, we've done television shows and been paid for our efforts and for the DVDs. People have asked for them all over the world. We created the DVDs because they asked us for more information. It cost a lot of money to produce all of those things, to travel all over the world. And a lot of times, I've done it on my own dime. Why do I do it? Why do I keep beating my head against this wall of negativity or disrespect? Because the thousands of us who have had contact know that there is a reason that's bigger than each one of us individually. We know that there's a value to this information that's bigger than one of us alone. And I know that there's a reason that's going to affect us all. And that is currently affecting us, whether people want to wake up to that reality or not. I personally believe that our existence is being challenged. I think that we all need to recognize the validity of the human experience and see it for what it truly is, not what we've always thought it was, but for the reality behind it. I've talked about that in the past. I've talked about that this information is enlightening for all of us, and that it can bridge some of the disbelief and some of the, through education, can basically bring us along to better understand why we're here, why we are what we are today. It's difficult. It's difficult to comprehend. It's difficult to understand. Even when you spend hours and hours and hours listening to somebody who has great knowledge of it, it's still difficult to digest. I've been reluctant to tell of all the negative sides of what I've had to deal with, what my team has had to deal with, and what other people who have had contact have had to deal with physically and emotionally. Because it's painful. It's personally painful. It's physically painful. And it's sad. It's sad that a few very powerful individuals can suppress and force other people to disbelieve something or not open their minds enough to educate themselves. That's very sad. But it's a sign of the times that we live in.
Can you go into the hypocrisy of the researchers in ufology? I've sat and watched those guys for about 15 to 20 years talk about stories that usually don't have enough concrete evidence, but they usually are, hearsay tales handed down through the generations. Roswell, I've heard about that since 95. Your story comes along 3 years later, 98, and this is concrete proof, validated, physical evidence, photographic evidence. Get into how they suppress, or your views of the suppression or the hypocrisy of the ufologists, the researchers in ufology.
First of all, the interest in what's called ufology, I think, is genuine. I think the public is very interested. I think there's a validity to that interest. The sad part of this subject, this arena that's called ufology, is run like a circus, in my opinion. Most of the would-be researchers are not in it for the research, in my opinion. They're in it for self-gratification, to boost their own egos, to boost their own pocketbooks, financially, egotistically. Greed dominates these people who can make the best conference, who can enlighten people with the newest innovation of information. I've given away information for years. It's on the internet, it's in programs, television programs that have been aired all over the world. People have asked me, why did I quit talking in the United States? Because of the hypocrisy. Because when I first came out, and I was invited to go to a conference in Laughlin, Nevada, put on by the International UFO Congress, I was asked to tell my story. And at that conference, the very first of its size that I had ever spoken to in public, I said this statement to 750 plus people in the audience that also incorporated all of the major UFO research heads and groups